evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. This bulletin is live from our studio here at Desanwe Kanda in Accra. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up this evening, fresh details emerge from High Court ruling stripping the prosecutorial powers of the OSP and ordering a retrial of all cases. Tonight we examine the path out of this legal crisis. Also coming up, probe into Tema microlight aircraft crash advances as final report is set to be released on the 29th of May. Details of all of this, including business and sports, at the tail end of the show. Do stay with us for details. Before we start dissecting the stories, let's bring you news summaries of other stories making rounds in the country. Christian Yali has joined us in studio. Hello, Christian.
Hi, Martin. In the first story today, a 26-year-old man who allegedly stole an armored vehicle belonging to the Ghana Police Service at Nkaria in the Achumanwabi Just South municipality of the Ashanti region has appeared before the court. Ebenezer Frempong, who is being held on a provisional charge of theft, is making his maiden appearance after his arrest on April 15, 2026 at Achuma Mim. He was apprehended in a Rambo-style hot chase by a combined SWAT team of 7 police officers on the Abuakwa-Kumasi stretch after he hopped into a police armored vehicle parked in front of the Nkaria market. The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, has impounded 40 vehicles at the Tema Harbour following an intelligence-led operation that uncovered the use of fraudulent drive-from-port DP stickers as well as genuine stickers affixed to vehicles with mismatched records. In a statement issued on April 17th, the DVLA said preliminary investigations suggest that the affected vehicles were imported into Ghana by a company. However, the DVLA says evidence indicates that an agent engaged to clear the vehicles on behalf of the company allegedly employed illegal methods, leading to the discrepancies detected. Candidates from 33 selected senior high schools in the country will be examined with the new second cycle school curriculum in this year's May-June West African Senior School Certificate Examination (WASSCE) for school candidates. The West African Examinations Council (WAEC) has confirmed. It said the examination would be based on what was termed, quote, the 21st century critical thinking and problem-solving questions, unquote, which was more practical than the traditional questions. The initiative would be rolled out eventually in all SHSs across the country. And now the Ghana Police Service, through the Koforidua Central Police Command, has arrested 7 female traders for allegedly possessing and selling palm oil suspected to be adulterated with Sudan dye, a substance banned for use in food products. The arrest, carried out on Thursday, April 16, 2026, followed earlier tests conducted by the Food and Drugs Authority, which reportedly found traces of the industrial dye in palm oil samples collected from market in Koforidua. The FDA had previously cautioned that Sudan dye is strictly prohibited for use in edible products and is only permitted for non-food applications such as textiles and cosmetics. And Martin, finally, we know that today Iran has declared the Strait of Hormuz completely open to commercial traffic during the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. In line with the ceasefire in Lebanon, the passage for all commercial vessels through Strait of Hormuz is declared completely open for the remaining period of ceasefire, Foreign Minister Syed Abbas Arakshi said in a social media post. However, vessels must transit through a coordinated route announced by Iran's maritime authorities. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yali. And those are the big stories that are also making rounds in the country. So if you go to our website, 3news.com, you'll get an idea of what else you can also contribute to. Christian Yali is our parliamentary correspondent, bringing us those details. Let's settle for the key ones that we have selected for you. And it is emerging that the special prosecutor may have to abandon his current cause because all cases he has tried are expected to be retried. This is quite revealing, coming from the full judgment that was released by Justice John Nyandu Nyante. So fresh details are emerging that the High Court ruling stripping the prosecutorial powers of the Office of the Special Prosecutor include all convictions that were secured by the OSP. The High Court judge further ordered the Attorney General to commence fresh trial of persons convicted by the OSP. The decision, handed down by Justice John Eugene Nyandu-Nyante, follows a legal challenge questioning the constitutionality of the OSP to prosecute criminal cases. So here are portions of that Christian Yale will be walking us through. So yes, you've been going through the final judgment. What are some of the key ones that people may actually probably didn't know was captured in there?
Yes. So, Martin, what we know is that when you look at what has been captioned as the aggressive prosecution at scale, then we can say that in a breakdown, over 100 cases are currently under investigation that are being handled by the OSP, and 33 cases have the persons involved currently facing trial. And then you have 78 criminal charges that have been filed in the Oforiatta and other cases. Now, Martin, let me give you even a further breakdown of cases by category. So you realize that what the OSP is handling now, there are ongoing criminal proceedings that have 8 counts, Martin, and then there are persons standing trial that is making a total of 33 counts. That is also a breakdown we have here. And then there are several proceedings, about 10 count, ongoing investigations, 79 count. Other cases have 161 count, and then conviction secured 7 count. So by far and extent, when you are to look at how much the country is saving through some of these prosecutorial attempts by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, then you can see that there are billions recovered, protected, and saved through that. And so per the figure that we have been able to, cross-check and verify, we have about 500.73 billion cedis that has been saved from cancellation of the SML related contract. That is one, Martin. And then there is about 345 million cedis saved from port disinfection contract review. That is another one that the OSP has dealt with. And so that amount to some billions of dollars that has been protected from losses from the Japan royalty deal. That is another one that has been a bone of contention, Martin. And then we have millions of cedis recovered via customs and auction reform. So these are just the snippet or summaries of the major cases, the breakdown that we have given, the count, and then how many cases are under active investigations, the ones that have persons facing trial, and then the amount involved that the state has been able to save or protect from some of these cases under investigation.
Right. Christian, thank you very much for that succinct report, looking through some of the key issues the OSP has been on up until now, that it looks as though it's going to be losing all of that power that comes with the office. But what exactly does this mean? For many of you who are watching us on Facebook and also on YouTube, your comments are very welcome. And we have been joined on the line now by private legal practitioner Austin Bracco Powers. Now, Mr. Powers, before I bring you in, let me just walk my listeners and viewers through some of the key areas captured in the final judgment. It says that effectively the order of the judge invalidates convictions secured under such circumstances and aligns with the court's directive that all affected cases must be reinitiated under the authority of the Attorney General. The court further ordered that ongoing and concluded cases handled by the OSP be transferred to the Attorney General for fresh prosecution. It held also that while the OSP retains investigative functions, its prosecutorial role must be exercised only with proper delegation in line with Article 88 of the Constitution. And the ruling stems from arguments that Parliament exceeded its constitutional mandate by granting the OSP independent prosecutorial authority under the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act. I'm sure that part is a bit we've overflogged that part of the argument. But Mr. Powers, are you surprised about the details captured in the final judgment that we are hearing, where, for instance, it is not just that the OSP cannot prosecute, but all cases he's handled in the past are effectively null and void, and now the AG needs to restart all of that.
To your listeners, and it is important to point out that sometimes you may have a good case, but if you're not able to put a good fight in the court, you may lose the case. So it is a matter of evidence. But that is the name of the game. The name of the game is evidence. But it is also key that this decision, although some people may find it very disconcerting, this is a decision that was really made out of the evidence presented to the judge at the time he was seized, as Justice Nanti, at the time he was seized with the matter. But now, many people are saying that this was a terrible blow to the special prosecutor, particularly in Ghana's anti-corruption fight. But I see this as oversimplification of the issue. Because the issue has never been whether or not anyone is stopping the special prosecutor from going ahead with the issue. But the substance of the matter, the substance of the judge's decision was simple. Whether or not the special prosecutor had the requisite authorization from the Attorney General. Now, I am clear in my mind that the special prosecutor has due authorization from the Attorney General. Because when you read the memorandum accompanying the bill, the Office of the Special Prosecutor Bill 2017, you come to the conclusion that indeed the Attorney General has authorized the special prosecutor to prosecute such cases in its name. Because being mindful of Article 88.3 of the 1992 Constitution. Now, it boils down to the ability of the special prosecutor or whoever represented the office to have pointed out to the judge that when you go through the memorandum, there's a clear intention that the Attorney General was having out part of its prosecutor authorities to the special prosecutor. But whether or not that in itself makes the special prosecutor independent is another conversation altogether, because I have stated from the beginning the special prosecutor can never be independent of the Attorney General because it is exercising part of or a function of the Attorney General. Now, the judge only made the decision based on the evidence before him, and I'm saying that the officers from the office that represented the special prosecutor were very sloppy because they didn't put out a good argument. Because when you read the 25-page judgment, you come to the conclusion that they didn't put a good fight before the judge. So the judge made a decision based on the evidence they have. And the position of the law is clear that you don't win a case based on the weakness of your opponent, but on the strength of your own case. Now, so I have said that the special prosecutor has due authorization, but they were not able to convince the judge.
Okay. Well, are you still with me, sir? Hello, Mr. Powers.
Special prosecutor to act or exercise a function of the Attorney General's prosecutorial powers. So that issue, I think the judge only made a determination based on the evidence. But the thing is that the judge went ahead to make certain orders which I thought were overboard. Now, first off, the decision of the judge to void all the convictions. In fact, so far the special prosecutor was able to secure 7 convictions. And let me point out that the 7 convictions were not obtained whereby did not arrive by reason of sending people to jail. Or out of the 7 commissions, nobody is serving jail term. But the commissions were in the nature of some reinvesting the state after having admitted to committing certain offenses. So those were the nature of the conviction, not really that people are serving jail time. So the court said that all those convictions are voided. So the court is voiding all those convictions. And I thought it was the court went over because the judge should have made a determination based on the reliefs brought by Archibald And the release brought by Archibald, that is the applicant, has nothing to do with voiding all previous convictions secured by the special prosecutor. But the judge was ahead to make that pronouncement, and I felt it was too overboard because that amounts to punching beyond your weight. Now, but when you read the judgment at page 16, the judge then appeared to mock the officers of the social prosecutor by saying that they believe that as 959 is equated or has elevated the office to a status equal to that of the attorney general, and I thought it was needless. Then the key thing, when you look at page 21, the judge said the office of the special prosecutor was hurriedly put together or created, and that it was a political promise which they re-engineered or hurriedly created to fulfill a political promise. I thought it was a needless comment because these are commentaries passed by judges where or that lead other people to conclude that this judge is being biased or showing his partisan toleration. I think it was needless because we know that it was a promise by the previous administration. But to point out, to state in your judgment that this was a campaign promise that
was veering into politics
in an act, I think it was needless because, and I believe that judges need to stay true to the facts so that people will not needlessly create or call them or to address them or to color them in any partisan coloration. So I felt the judge went overboard in some of the cases.
Okay.
But beyond that, the judge made a determination based on the fact
presented to him. Right. Thank you for that exposition and the clarity of, also brought to the conversation. But how easy is it to restart a trial? I mean, are we not going to be later talking about causing financial loss to the state, and who would that charge be to? Because the special prosecutor must have expended state resources in following up on the case or investigating the cases that he has won, 7 in total. But let's put all of that aside because the judge says all of that is void. How easy is it to restart a case which has already been tried?
Martin, I think it is key for your listener to know that this was a decision of the High Court, not the Court of Appeal, and not the Supreme Court. And we are well aware that there are other High Courts seized with similar matters being handled by the special prosecutor. Now the question is that the judge made a consequential order that the Attorney General should take over those cases. I have said that this is a decision of a High Court, and another High Court may be minded to take a different decision. In fact, we have something we call High Court is a court of coordinate jurisdiction. It means that no one High Court decision binds the other High Court. So far as this is one High Court decision, and we have only one High Court in Ghana, the others have been created for administrative purposes. But so long as this is one High Court decision, another High Court may make a different decision and may not be bound by the decision of this court. So I think that special prosecutor can go ahead with other cases that are before the other High Court. Now, as to whether those convictions will have to now, there's a need for a fresh trial. That would be a major thing altogether, because that would be a major tax on the government, because it means that we will have to now expend different resources to arrange those people, take them to court, file fresh charges, bring them to court, and it will take almost. You can say that it may even take more than 2-3 years to conclude some of these cases.
Yeah.
So it will come for cheap, or it won't be an easy battle ahead of this the nation. But this is the solution. Martin, the solution is that the special prosecutor should go ahead with other cases before the High Court, because it will amount to contempt of court, because that decision of the High Court does not bind another High Court. It only binds the court below the High Court, which are the circuit court and the district court, and the other court.
Okay.
But another high court sees with another matter can go ahead, and there won't be any difficulty. But they must also explore the appeal, which I know they are doing, while they continue with other cases. And Martin, it's important. I believe that the special prosecutor has the due authorization or prior authorization from the Attorney General. If the AG office believes otherwise, and they agree with the decision of the High Court, all that they need is to issue a warrant to the special prosecutor. It doesn't take 24 years. It doesn't take 2 days. It doesn't take hours. It takes minutes to issue the authorization to them. And when you look at Section 56 of Act 30, it says they may authorize by executive instruments. It doesn't mean that that's the only means. They can also authorize by another means. So they should do that, give them the authorization to continue with the other cases so that Ghanaians can have their peace of mind.
Okay. Mr. Powers, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening.
Thank you.
He's a private legal practitioner, and, certainly it's a conversation that many of you have been reacting to. So we're happy that your comments are also coming in. And it is interesting the way our laws or the limits of our laws are being pushed so that, the bigger picture is we are trying to see how best we can consolidate our judicial systems and our jurisprudence. So all of these add on to all of that effort to ensure that our democracy itself is well entrenched, and then arms and legs or other components that make it a holistic democracy like the judicial aspects are also very well entrenched. So these kinds of conversations are important, and we thank you for sending your messages through as well. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. We'll be shifting our attention to some other stories now and talk about the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. You'd recall that there was a press conference yesterday by Old Tafo Member of Parliament Vincent Asifua, who described or raised a number of allegations against the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. Now, they have reacted and firmly rejected all the allegations made by the Old Tafo MP, describing them as false, misleading, and unsubstantiated. In a press release, the authority addressed a range of claims concerning its operations, including issues related to salary adjustments, procurement, consultancy engagements, and a proposed head office project. The NPRA clarified that it is not the custodian of pension funds, contrary to the suggestions made by the MP. It explained also that its mandate under the National Pensions Act 2008 Act 766 is strictly regulatory, focusing on overseeing and monitoring the three-tier pension scheme to ensure effective administration. Responding to claims about the chief executive officer's salary, the authority dismissed assertions that Chris Boedi Mensah doubled his pay upon assuming office. According to the statement, a 25% salary increment had already been approved by the previous board in September 2024, with implementation scheduled before his tenure. And so in a moment, we'll get back to the phone lines and find out what the Old Tafo Member of Parliament, Vincent Asifua, makes of this reaction coming in upon his press conference. This is 3FM 92.7. Messages are coming in. We also know that there are other big stories making rounds in Ghana. Do stay with us. Keep your messages coming in. When we return from this break, we'll be giving you the updates of that light aircraft that crashed somewhere in Tema, and also find out what exactly was captured in that report, which we are told will be released later. And the Trade Minister has also been going around trying to find out what exactly the country is doing in terms of preparedness following the developments in the Middle East. Details of all of that and more in a moment. Now we are fortunate to be joined by the Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, the Honourable Vincent Asifua, who's joined us. Honourable, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Martin.
The response from the NPRA, that is the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, is already in the public domain. I am sure you've seen a copy, and they touched on a number of the issues you raised, describing most of it or almost all of it as false, misleading, and unsubstantiated. What would your initial reaction be to that?
So, have you seen the response from them yourself?
Yes, I have. I've actually read portions of it to the public, which, more or less addressed the specifics that you had addressed at the press conference.
Do you have a copy, Martin?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you can take it. I mean, I can turn you to item number 4. I mean, we'll take it one by one, but you can go to item number 4 of their own response, where they say that Section 25 of the National Pensions Act especially empowers the MPI board to engage consultants as and when necessary. Therefore, the engagement of Dr. Kofi Anoche, a long-standing, respected expert on pensions in Ghana, with decades of experience in digital financial ecosystems, informal sector pensions, system design and reform to support the government's efforts at expanding pension coverage to the informal sector, was prudent and not a needless duplication as alleged by Mr. Asifua. So, my response is that the press conference that we had, we made clear allegation to the fact that the micro pensions is a directorate at the MPRA. It is headed by a director who is paid to close to about 100,000 Ghana cedis. The schedules and the duties of the director has been spelled out. How then do you appoint a consultant by way of a sole source and seek for the approval from PPA, give the same terms and conditions or like the schedule to the consultant and pays the person 4 million Ghana cedis? So my point has not been about whether or not the appointment of a consultant is legal. But my point is the duplication, the unnecessary and reckless duplication of two people doing the same job. Mr. Anoche is a former MPRA CEO. In 2016, he was the CEO of the MPRA. Is it the case that he cannot be a CEO again, so we should just create a job for the boys? Again, let me bring you to their own statement once more. When you look at item number 5, they claim that Mr. Boadi Mensah expended 15 million on 7 Land Cruiser vehicles in December 2025, funded from pension contributions. It's entirely false. The authority has not procured 7 Land Cruisers. As a matter of fact, NPRA has only 2 Land Cruisers purchased in 2023 and 2026 respectively. We challenge Mr. Asifua to provide verifiable evidence of his claim. Please, you can check my Facebook wall. Now they are saying that they have not purchased any claim. If you check my Facebook wall, I've been able to provide evidence from DVLA, car number or registered number JS 415825, gold color, registered in the name, or if like the owner is the National Pensions Regulatory Authority.
And these vehicles, you say you verified from the DVLA, is registered in the name of the NPRA or a staff
Absolutely.
there? How so?
Absolutely. It has been registered in the name of NPRA. In fact, NPRA is the owner. That's why I'm putting the car number out. JS, let me repeat. JS 415825, registered in the 2025. Again, JS 4153 2025, Land Cruiser, gold color. Again, JS 385025, gold color. Ownership National Pensions Regulatory Authority. I have put the car numbers out.
How many are these? How many are these?
Okay, so the cars are, the Land Cruisers are 7. So let me read the procurement authority's approval for the same allegation to me. In fact, on the 26th of June 2025, and I posted this one to on my Facebook wall. Request for approval to use a single source method of procurement for the supply and delivery of vehicles or National Pensions Regulatory Authority. If you look at the table over there, 2025 Land Cruiser 3.3 twin turbo diesel, quantity 1. 2025 Toyota Land Cruiser Prado 2.8 L, quantity 5. So how can he tell me that he has not bought Land Cruisers? And for that matter, I am spewing falsehood. He actually challenged that I should put the documents out. And I have been able to put all the documents out. Again, with respect to the headquarters, he is claiming that, the headquarters was approved. It's like the board approved it in 2024. And for that matter, it was in existence before. That is not in contention. You cannot just go and tell me that, a consultant came to tell you that you needed to expand, or if you like, put out a car park. And for that matter, you needed to add that one to the phase 1. That is not enough. Can we see the plan of the phase 1? Because you remember on the 17th of March, I sent an RTI to him for him to furnish me with all these responses by way of my due diligence. Now, in your letter, you say that I did not do any due diligence. When I wrote to you, you told me that based on IOPS principle, you cannot give me the information. But if you can't give me the information and I put out my allegations, then you are now telling me that I have not done due diligence. You are a public officer. The framers of the Constitution,
right,
Article 21, and the sections of the RTI Act contemplated instances like this. That is why power was given to private persons, members of parliament, who wants to play that oversight responsibility to write to such agencies and seek for those information. It is the responsibility of the heads of those agencies to provide those information to us. You shelve the information. Now, when you put them out, you tell us that you've not done our due diligence.
Two final questions, then you take leave of us. How do you respond to the 25% salary increase? They say that it was approved even before the current CEO took office. So it wasn't that he came in and has doubled his salary as you are alleging.
When I make an allegation that I believe that you have doubled your salary starting from February 2025, I write to you for you to confirm or otherwise. Then you tell me that based on IOPS principle, you cannot give me that information. Now, I put that information out that this is the case. What do? You now give me an evidence that indeed you have not taken that evidence. You don't give a sweeping statement that, the thing was approved in 2025. I'm not talking about the general salaries of the workers. Yes, the 25% is not in contention. But is it the case that the salary that you are taking now is different from the salary that the former CEO took on the January 2025? Because the last salary that was taken by the former CEO was in January 2025. You started taking salary in February 2025. Is your salary different from the one that was taken by the former CEO?
So it is not that you have it on authority that he has doubled it, but you want him to come out and clarify that it is not true and that this is how much he's taking.
You said when I was writing to the NPRA, it was not as if I did not have this information. Sometimes you have to be very strategic about how you go about this thing. I had all this information, but I still wrote to him. I have repeated the RTI. I'm waiting for him to tell me that he has not received that salary. Then he will see whether I have that information or not.
Right. Okay, so let's make progress. Finally, what exactly are you seeking? An investigation, a resignation, or policy reform? What exactly is the target here?
The Minister of Finance is the supervising ministry for the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. In that circumstances, I think that the ministry of Finance should be interested in the matters that I have raised, especially when it borders on ordinary pensioners' funds. You cannot be spending the way you are spending, especially when they are ordinary pensioners who believe that their funds will have to be invested in a way that will inure to their benefit. When I make the allegation that, 700 million Ghana cedis has been taken from Tier 2 funds, and not directly so, but as a loan, and you tell me that that is not the case. Meanwhile, in your own statement, you tell me that you have started raising or you have commenced raising funds. How much have you raised? Why can't you tell the people of Ghana how much you have raised or how much you raised for the commencement of the phase 2? Because today, as we speak, I have given a figure of 700 million Ghana cedis. You say it is not true. Meanwhile, you cannot also let me know how much you have used for the commencement of the phase 2.
Okay. Mr. Sifwa, we are grateful that you spoke to us and made time to speak to us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And he is the Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, the Honorable Vincent Eko Isifwa there. What do you make of his rebuttal to the reaction that he got from an earlier press conference he held yesterday, where he raised a number of allegations against the National Pensions Regulatory Authority? They have responded, and he says that their responses are actually not enough, and that he is hoping that the Finance Ministry will take interest in the allegations he has leveled against the NPRA. Let's shift our attention to some other stories we have for you this evening, and investigations into the fatal microlight aircraft crash at the Tema Metropolitan Assembly Daycare School at Tema Community 1 is progressing steadily, with a final report expected on the 29th of May. According to the Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau, it had completed the preliminary phase of the probe and was waiting critical inputs, including autopsy findings, to determine the exact causes and contributory factors of the accident. At a press briefing in Accra, the Commissioner of AIB Ghana, John Wumboti, explained that the update was issued in line with both national law and international civil aviation organization requirements.
Accra radar captured the aircraft from 60 to 10 nautical miles from Accra, where the accident occurred, flying at different altitudes between 3,400 feet and 100 feet. Whilst flying over the Tema township, witnesses observed the aircraft flying at a low altitude. The aircraft was seen in an attempt to signal to school children playing at the Oninku School Park, to vacate the park to enable them to make an emergency landing. During a subsequent attempt at landing, the aircraft was observed in a left bank attitude shortly before it lost control and impacted the ground within the premises of the TMA Daycare School in Community 1, Tema. The impact was immediately followed by a post-crash fire, which engulfed the aircraft. Emergency response personnel arrived at the scene and successfully extinguished the fire. The occupants were recovered from the wreckage with fatal injuries. The fire was contained in a timely manner, which limited further damage to the surrounding area, although the aircraft was destroyed.
He's just trying to certify the law, which says that after a month into the investigation, if you are not able to come with a final report, you should make the preliminary report publicly available. And so that is what we have just done today with the preliminary progressive report. And so the final report, we are working seriously to get it out by the 29th of May. It has not been easy, but thank God we have very seasoned investigators led by Captain Paul Fojo. And so things are going on very well. But let me also say that our condolences and once again to the Biri family, our hearts go to him. And we want to assure Ghanaians that, look, we'll come out with whatever the cause has been so that we help to prevent future occurrence.
And you heard the voice of John Wumboti, who is the Commissioner of the AIB Ghana, which is Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau. Trade Minister Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejare says government is committed to implementing measures that support industrial growth. The minister has called for calm over the rollout of some policies, encouraging industry to ensure continuous engagement with government. The minister was speaking while touring some metal processing companies in the Tema-Free Zone's enclave to assess local capacity production in relation to the ban on the export of ferrous metals. Let's listen to the Trade Minister.
We will continue to bring policies that feed our industry. This will also encourage more people to site their industries here, because access to raw material is always key. Wherever you find raw material is a good place to put your industry. And so this is what the government has done. Any policy that comes will of course come with a few challenges. So we'll continue to listen to industry and see what we can do after we have implemented this. Some of the teasing issues will be discussed, and then we'll find lasting solution to it. Any policy that starts and it's already 90% perfect, it's good to go. As for the 10% issues, we'll look at it and resolve. That is why I'm visiting industry that processes the non-ferrous metals. So I'm here, I'll see more, gather all the issues, and then we'll sit on a round table and resolve all. A listening government is a good government, and it's always good for industry. I thank you very much.
You heard Trade Minister the Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejare there. In more news this evening, the Ghana Gas Company says it has repaired the fault in one of its plants that led to power outages few days ago due to gas supply shortages. About 2 days ago, the bomber management system control for the heat medium system, which is critical component of its operations, got damaged and caused an emergency shutdown. Gas supply to the thermal plants was disrupted and led to intermittent electricity supply challenges in parts of the country, but that has been rectified. Richard Kek-Mensah is head of corporate affairs for Ghana Gas.
Around 10 a.m. on the 14th, the burner management system, which controls the heat medium system of the plant, failed to operate, which resulted in the shutdown of the plant. We immediately informed stakeholders, and the proactive Minister for Energy summoned the stakeholders for an emergency meeting. And even prior to that emergency meeting, in-house, the technical team of the company, together with management, did a risk assessment on the alternative route to on the plant, which was successful. So even before this release came on, the plant was on. But we just wanted to get optimization before we can inform the general public. So as at 8 p.m. on the 15th, the plant came back on stream, and since it's been producing, and as we speak, we are doing 115 SCAF to the power plant. And the simple message I want to put across, there's no cause for alarm. We have very competent technical team which put their technical brains together, and they were able to start the plant using the manual system approach. That is why we are producing. Even though management swiftly made provision for replacement of the faulty gadget, the machine is running as we speak, and the replacement is on the way to the site for fixing, so that we can come back to normalcy with the automated system.
Richard Kek-Mensah is head of corporate affairs at Ghana Gas. The Asokore-Mampo Municipal Assembly has announced a major crackdown on tricycle operators over widespread traffic violations. The move is aimed at restoring discipline and improving road safety within the municipality. There is more in this report by Ibrahim Abubakar.
While the growing presence of tricycle operations in Asokore-Mampo has improved mobility and reduced transport costs, authorities say indiscipline among some riders is becoming a major concern. Reckless speeding, dangerous overtaking, and the increasing involvement of minors in the business have become common on many roads. Following a meeting with leaders of the various tricycle unions, the Municipal Security Council has outlined new measures to regulate the activities.
Statistics put their numbers on a daily basis at around 3,000. That attests to the enormity of the kind of services that they provide for residents within the municipality and even outside the municipality. But we felt gradually they are also earning a bad reputation for themselves as people who flout road traffic rules and regulations most of the time. And so we felt we should come in, help them restore sanity, make our roads a lot more safer, and propagate their works.
Police will begin full enforcement of traffic regulations across the municipality. Foreign nationals have also been banned from operating tricycles, with offenders to be arrested and prosecuted.
The police are on high alert. The task force of the assembly are on the grounds, and so they will make sure they apprehend minors who are engaged in this trade. But as a way of also supporting the initiative, we encourage those who patronize the services of our brothers who ride the rickshaws not to patronize the services of minors who are engaged in the trade.
The National Union of Tricycle Operators Ghana has thrown its support behind the directive, particularly the decision to eliminate underage riders. Speaking at a regional capacity building conference, the Ashanti Regional Chairman Saidu Mubarak said the move will help sanitize the sector and improve professionalism among riders.
We are fully supporting the initiative Asokore Mampong has took, and I would call for all the municipals to also replicate the same thing, because more times they only complain but there is no action. And if the assemblies are able to stand on their feet and take a bold decision to take underage riders and those who are riding reckless on our route, I believe that we will have a safer route.
Authorities are urging all operators to comply, warning that strict enforcement will be sustained to ensure safer roads across the municipality.
And that's a report by Ibrahim Abubakar, bringing us to the latest in the world of business with Bismarck Usa.
Good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Usa. Coming up tonight, Momo agents warn Mobile Money Limited cleanup exercise could threaten livelihoods of nearly 10,000 operators nationwide. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. Mobile money agents in Ghana are raising concerns over a cleanup exercise by Mobile Money Limited, warning it could affect the livelihoods of thousands of operators. The Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana says up to 10,000 of its members risk being impacted by the ongoing compliance checks. My colleague Michael Obodu has the rest of the story.
Mobile Money Limited says the exercise is part of efforts to strengthen oversight of its agent network and protect customers in Ghana's fast-growing digital payment sector. In a statement issued in Accra on April 16, the company said it has begun routine verification of agents to ensure compliance with regulatory standards and improve system security. As part of the process, some agent accounts have been temporarily restricted pending on the nature of the identified infractions. The company says minor breaches will attract warnings, while more serious violations could lead to suspension or permanent removal from the platform. However, the Mobile Money Agents Association says some members have been unfairly affected by the exercise.
Generalize it that almost 10,000 agents are engaging in infractions. I think it really dents the image of the Mobile Money Agents network, and for that we are not really happy with it. And the actions that have been taken so far, it has really had a very negative image and impact on the activists, because
the group argues that some agents have been flagged due to technical anomalies in the company's system and is calling for the process to be suspended to allow for further engagement.
We are looking forward that Mobile Money Fintech Limited have to entirely rescind the decision, engage further, so that both parties will fully align going forward, so that some of these actions that have been taken, which resulted in a platform or an application that has some loopholes or vulnerabilities, we are not ready to accept responsibility for the vulnerabilities that the app comes with, for which reason agents needs to be penalized.
And that was a report by my colleague Michael Obodu. Moving on, trader groups in Ghana have suspended their planned industrial action following fresh talks with government over the controversial publican AI system at the ports. The decision comes after a meeting with the Finance Ministry and the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, where some concessions were made. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report. The Joint Business Forum, which includes major trader and freight forwarder associations, had earlier demanded the immediate suspension of the system, citing concerns over valuation processes and lack of transparency. The publican AI system is used in customs valuation at Ghana's ports, but traders argue it has disrupted operations and increased the cost of doing business. Following negotiations, government agreed to restore the previous appeals process, including a 24-hour turnaround time for resolving valuation disputes. It also pledged to expand the appeals committee and work with stakeholders to define terms for a new multi-party engagement platform. However, authorities rejected calls to suspend the system entirely, urging traders instead to channel their concerns through the new committee. Government also declined to fully disclose the contractual and technical details of the system, offering only limited access to industry leaders. While the Joint Business Forum says it is not fully satisfied, it has agreed to pause its strike action in good faith, pending further engagement. The group maintains that its demand for the suspension of the publican AI system remains, warning that it could resume industrial action depending on the outcome of upcoming talks. The dispute highlights growing tensions between government and the trading community over port reforms and the cost of doing business in Ghana. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report, bringing us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Bill Eshan is here for sports. Please stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on 3FM's Hot Edition. My name is Bill Ishen. Now, Nations FC booked their place in the first final of the 2025-26 MTN FA Cup with a hard-fought 1-0 victory over Ediana FC on Friday at the Swedru Sports Stadium. Emmanuel Arnaud struck early in the game and his goal proved decisive, securing Nations FC's first ever appearance in the competition. Now Nations FC will now take on the winner of the second semi-final between Dreams FC and Mediama SC, scheduled for Saturday, April 18th. Now here are reactions from the two coaches after that game.
First, congratulations from the nation about this win. The game is coming after one mistake from our defensive line. You see, is the difficult about Alex, our captain today. It's an injury, and I try put the Raymond central defender, but he have the mistake from the first 50-minute opponent is take the score. After I coming also from Anoche, one central defender, is equilibration the game, but our middle and attacking line today is not have the more inspiration from the last pass. More last pass is coming, the mistake, and no have clear opportunity to the score. This is our player, this is our squad. What can I do? I try the best, but today is the game from the nation. Our team no play what need from possible win the game, and is lose the competition and is go out.
Yeah, it feels great. You can feel it from the atmosphere. You know, everybody here around the game was very excited about the way the game was being played. And then more especially our fans and ourselves, we don't know how to even talk about it. Maybe later on we can celebrate it well. But for now, it's still like the game is going on, you see. But I'm telling you, it's a good feeling. Being the first team to qualify for the FA Cup final, yes, we are very, very excited.
The first time Nations FC have qualified for the MTN FA Cup final. Those were reactions from Aduana FC's coach Choba Aristaka and Nations FC's coach Frimpong Manso. Now, Manchester City forward Antoine Semenyo has spoken candidly about the weight of expectations with the Black Stars. Despite his blistering form for Manchester City and his mesmerizing displays at his previous side Bournemouth, the forward has struggled to replicate the same in the national team. While speaking on the All About Football podcast, the 26-year-old, who has scored 3 goals for Ghana since 2022, admitted Ghana is a football-loving nation who have high expectations of him.
Rankings like that anyway.
Yeah.
Ghana came at 20, 21, and I can't turn down playing first team for Ghana. So it was such an easy decision. And in Ghana especially, the expectation is every ball I touch has to be in it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not, you're crap, you're this, you're that. No, that's how they are, yeah.
Really?
Like, they love football over there. Football's everything. So when we don't do well, it's like a meltdown in Ghana, seriously. Yeah. So there is a lot of pressure. We've got a bit of experience, Kudus, but I think he's injured.
I was going to say, is he going to make it? We don't know. Yeah, he's been out for a while now, hasn't
he? He relapsed during his comeback from his quad injury. Yeah, so
that's gutting.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Because he's a pivotal factor for the team for sure. But just have to see how it goes.
That was Antoine Semenyo speaking there. Now, fans are trying to get to MetLife Stadium from New York City can expect to shell out $150 for a round-trip train fare for each match. Transportation officials confirmed on Friday. That's nearly 12 times the regular $12.90 fare for the roughly 15-minute, 9-mile 14-kilometer ride from Manhattan's Penn Station to the stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. On-site parking won't be available for most fans, so New Jersey officials anticipate that around 40,000 fans will use mass transit for each match. Now, the home stadium for both the NFL's New York Giants and New York Jets is set to host 8 World Cup matches, including the tournament final on July 19th. Group stage matches for soccer powerhouses Brazil, France, Germany, and England, along with other nations, begin on June 13. That's it for the sports segment here on Hot Edition, and also brings an end to this episode of the Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We'll be back same time on Monday with a lot more updates. Until then, have a great weekend.